by grounding into a double play right after Jeff McNeil put on a lesson of how to take a close 3-2 pitch just a tad bit below the knees.
And he didn't even put his elbow out to try and get hit by it.
That's Michael Conforto. So after this game ended and the U.S. lost fair and square, I reminded myself, while it's not an exhibition and it's a real World Cup of baseball, we didn't send our best. We didn't. So I reject the notion that Japan has taken the world of baseball from us.
They did.
They sent their best. We didn't.
That's our fault.
Period. Stop.
They own baseball. And I think we should do this every 2 years. And I think Americans should care as much as the players for other countries.
I have an idea that no one has ever said, so maybe I created it. If someone did say it, I apologize. I think we should invite 2 of the best Japanese baseball teams after their season is over into our playoffs. And that's how I think we run this thing. We have 5 NL playoff teams, 5 AL playoff teams. We add the 6th in each league by taking the champion of each of their leagues, and let's see how you handle it. Let's see how the Cebu Lions do in a best-of-5 against the Yankees.
Wait, would this be for the World Series?
Yeah, they're in the playoffs. Why the hell not?
I mean, you've come up with some dumb ideas, but that tops the cake.
There's nothing dumb about the idea.
So 2 Japanese teams that don't play any games at all against American teams now are in an opportunity to win the World Series?
Correct.
No.
Why the hell not?
Because it's stupid.
We used to have a World Series for 50 years in which the leagues had nothing to do with each other.
They played against each other.
No, they didn't. There was no such thing as
Series.
interleague play. That was the only time they played against each other.
And people loved it.
What I would do is, and I see nothing wrong with this idea.
What's happening? Are you high right now?
I think it's the most brilliant idea I've ever come with.
Oh, my God.
I take 1 Japanese team from each league, because they have 2 leagues over there. There's only like 7 teams in each league, but whatever. And the winner of that league, instead of going to their climax series, because that's what it's called, true story.
Is that right?
I know, climax series.
Yeah, I like it.
They come over and they play in our postseason. The baseball playoffs would be highly rated throughout Japan. We're going to love it no matter what, because if you're a Yankee fan, whether it's the Cebu Lions sweeping you in the ALCS or the Astros, you're going to be bitter and embarrassed. So let's go. That's how we move along. That's how we bring baseball to the masses. Invite 2 Japanese teams to our playoffs, and let's get this thing started.
You ever, in your storied radio career, been in a situation where somebody sitting in the room with you said something that was so utterly stupid?
Oh, stop.
That rather than respond to it and point out to that person why it was so utterly stupid, you just let it sit out there by itself for a few seconds, and then you just ignored it and moved on? Have you ever experienced that?
I actually have.
Yeah, every day I'm on the air there? I'm going to play that role today.
Oh, come on.
I'm going to let it marinate, and I'm just going to keep my lip tight.
You know what the problem is? You're so used to the one saying like really inventive things that takes a while for people to realize, hey, that was actually really smart.
Good idea.
I have an idea that I think is really, really smart, because Bobby Valentine's idea, and I love Bobby, his idea was, let's have the Japanese champion against the World Series champion. That's a flawed idea. No one's going to care. If the Yankees win the World Series, they're going to have a parade. No one's going to care about the Yankees against the Yomiuri Giants. But you know how they'll care? If it's the American League Championship Series. You know how they'll care? If it's the National League Divisional Series. So I'm sorry, I blew your brain with a brilliant idea, and you can't accept it. And I came up with this idea while watching the World Baseball Classic last night.
Yeah, because you knew that the Americans were going to lose, so you decided, let me find a way to get my team back into the championship. Something along those lines. Like, I heard Evan on the phone earlier. He's like, you know what I think the NBA needs? I think 12 teams get in, not 10. I think we need 12. I'm like,
I need that.
The Nets are probably going to be 8, 9, or 10. You'll be all right. He goes, I need 12. I gotta guarantee it. I gotta make my money back on these tickets. And yeah, I will say this: for all the criticism that Manfred's gotten and baseball's gotten over the years, or anyone involved with baseball has gotten over the years, whoever came up with the idea, and I mean, you could tell me, I don't know, for a Ryder Cup style tournament amongst all the teams. It's a brilliant idea, and it works.
So, one argument I've always heard, and it always bothers me when people talk about, well, this matters because it's been around longer. Well, something has to start somewhere. And in 2006, this was an invented idea. And I've told you this, Craig. I went to the World Baseball Classic in 2006. I was intrigued by it. I was like, this is interesting.
Where was it?
It was in San Diego, California, and I saw the Final Four. It was Cuba against the Dominican Republic. It was Japan against Korea.
Got it.
And when it started in 2006, there was very little interest. When it continued in 2009, there was a little bit more interest. When it continued a few years, every time there's a World Baseball Classic, it grows more and more and more.
That's how things
do. And now there's a generation of people 25 and under, and all they know is the World Baseball Classic. So before you say it's not the Olympics because of history or it's not the World Cup because of history, need I remind you that everything needs to start off somewhere. So it's a great event. I'm not telling you that I care more about it than the Mets. That would be a lie. Like last night, I was more focused on Nets Cavs. But in the ninth inning, was I enamored by Team USA battling against Shohei Ohtani? Of course.
And I think it's a great precursor to the start of the season. I don't think it works in November like a lot of people are talking about, other than maybe you get more of the top-level guys willing to play. And you're not getting guys who want to play now, especially pitchers, because their ramp up for them is different.
Craig, you're spot on.
I like it.
If this is about the audience, forget the players for a second. If this is about me and you and everybody listening, you will have more interest in the World Baseball Classic in March than you ever will in July.
No football,
and than you ever will in November.
No NFL, no college football. We're getting ramped up. Season's 8 days away, and this gave us a little taste.
Now,
I like it.
There are different times of the year where you could argue you'll get more players or the quality of baseball will be better. I'm not arguing that.
Right.
What I'm telling you is, as a fan, what were your choices last night? Think about that. Spring training baseball, you're already bored with.
I am.
We're at the latter part of the NBA season where very few people are glued to Nets, Cavs like I am.
Last night was not a great lineup of games. It just wasn't.
No. And even the NHL games, the Rangers are playing the Hurricanes, but it's a regular season hockey game.
Yeah.
So from the standpoint of the sports calendar, it's the best time to play it. And I'm curious how many people watched it. I'll tell you one thing that jumped out at me, and I think we've already known this, but it became more obvious to me over the last week or so. Shohei Ohtani is a living, walking god. And I don't know if we understand it yet, and maybe we'll be lucky enough to have him in Queens or in the Bronx a year from now.
Maybe.
But what this guy does, from beating out infield singles to hitting the baseball all over the place, including that double that started the rally against Mexico, to throwing 102 miles an hour in the ninth inning of the WBC Finals, we all need to accept, and this is not hyperbole, we are watching one of the greatest things we have ever seen.
Yes, which brings me to today being Wednesday. And as you know, we do theme shows here on The Fan. WAG Wednesday, of course, for 6 months, brought to you by 1800 Tequila, was awesome. Well, we're very proud to announce that the entire show today is called Bad Idea Wednesday.
Oh,
all right?
Stop it. I don't like you.
And the reason it's called Bad Idea Wednesday is not because you already heard Evan say that rather than just keep the World Series the way it is, we should invite 2 Japanese teams to be in our World Series.
No, in our playoffs.
In our playoffs, pardon me.
Get my bad idea right.
Yeah, but he's got another bad idea. This one actually made Big Mac laugh out loud. And that does not happen every day of the week. Evan's other bad idea, specifically for today, Bad Idea Wednesday, is that, and I believe you phrased it, Shohei Ohtani doesn't work on the Yankees.
Yeah, I said that.
I believe that.
I did say that.
I believe that. I think that was the statement made about 45 minutes ago.
Do you guys want my reasoning for why I said that?
I mean, it's your thought. It's Bad Idea Wednesday. And here's Evan Roberts.
He is such a big superstar. I don't think we are fathoming what we're witnessing. Like, okay. I even admit this as a diehard baseball fan. I don't think I fathomed it in a fair enough way over the last 2 years what this man has done. He makes Aaron Judge like a pimple on his fanny when he walks into that locker room. He is such a superstar. Internationally, nationally, he is such a megastar that little Aaron Judge and his little C that he has on his jersey and all that money he makes, all of that's going to feel minor if Ohtani walks through that door. It's going to break Aaron Judge's heart, Big Mac. So I think it destroys the locker room.
That's ridiculous. That's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. A big star can't come to the Yankees.
Right.
The Yankees can't handle a superstar player. Are you serious? Get out of here. Why can't Judge be the captain?
Listen, you've had a lot of superstars, but I don't think what you're understanding right now is you've never had this. Like, this is something.
This has never
that's
existed.
Fine, but
yes, Craig,
so then,
it's never existed.
So then no team has had it. So you're saying the Yankees just because of Aaron Judge?
I mean, the Yankees had Babe Ruth. I guess that's
Yeah.
Forget about Babe. Let me tell you something about Babe Ruth, who I have great respect for. He's the greatest of all time.
Did him and Lou Gehrig
Babe Ruth was
coexist?
a two-way player for a year and a half. Okay, that's the reality. So I'm so sick and tired of hearing about Ohtani as Babe Ruth. And if I've said that in the past, I apologize. Ohtani is different than Babe Ruth.
Right, fine, but what about superstardom? He was baseball.
I
Babe
understand
Ruth.
that. Shohei Ohtani walks into that Met locker room. He's the king, and everybody knows it. Shohei Ohtani walks into your locker room, there's an issue. Because Aaron Judge is the king. You got major issues. Remember that controversy CC Sabathia had to apologize to you losers? Because CC, do you remember this?
I do not.
CC Sabathia would continue to say Shohei Ohtani is the MVP. Yeah. And it angered Yankee fans to no end.
Oh,
Finally,
year. Sorry,
CC Sabathia wore a T-shirt that says, okay, Judge is the MVP. And then he turns around and it says, but Ohtani's the greatest player on the planet.
I think everyone acknowledges that. I really don't think it'll be a problem to bring in more superstars. You want to say he won't come here. You want to say your owner's going to give him $600 million. Fair arguments. The idea that he doesn't fit with the Yankees
and by the
ridiculous.
way, I know this may sound crazy too. I think the way I would negotiate with this guy, knowing the risks, I would walk up to him with a check and say, fill it out.
The old blank check, huh?
Yeah, because, and I know that this seems too good to be true. How can this continue?
Right.
How can this last? I think the risk reward is so freaking high of him being this for 3, 4, 7 more years that I walk up to him with a check and I say, here's the check, Shohei. Fill it out. Fill it out. Whatever you want it to say. You want $60 million a year? Done. Like, he is, and I swear to God, I mean this, Craig. I don't think we fully understand it. I don't think we've accepted it yet.
Arguably the greatest, most unique player to ever play the sport of baseball.
No, sports.
Sports now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue.
The most unique player to play sports, and let's just say 50 years. Let's put a time frame on this. We have seen nothing like this. And I think because of the Angels being so freaking pathetic and owned by such a horrific owner, that we have done a decent job of saying he's great, but not fully accepting
Remember
it.
one thing.
Go ahead.
The Yankees tried to get him. He didn't want to play here.
I understand.
It wasn't like Artie Moreno just was the only guy interested in bringing him here. The Yankees were dying to get him.
And at that point, Ohtani...
That's why Brian Cashman's the greatest GM, because he knew what he had there. Tried to get him. Ohtani made a decision, didn't want to play New York at the time. Maybe that's changed.
Maybe that's different.
Maybe that's changed.
Assimilated
he didn't want to play on the
American
East
culture.
He didn't want to play on the East Coast at all.
He didn't want to play on the East Coast.
He eliminated all East Coast teams.
And that's why, look, at the end of the day, he probably ends up with the Dodgers. But what I would do if I'm Hal Steinbrenner and I'm Steve Cohen and I really think it's worth it, the risk reward is worth it to me, I just hand him a blank check and say, fill it out.
I'm starting to think that Ohtani was onto something. The West Coast seems like a better lifestyle, doesn't it?
Yeah, missing the playoffs every year is a great lifestyle.
You have nothing to worry about. There's no agita other than traffic, I guess, on the 405.
Earthquakes?
Or whatever it is. Earthquake, schmirthquake. I mean, is California really going to be somehow physically separated from the mainland and float away?
Yes.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Droughts, floods.
Did you ever see Snake Plissken escape from L.A.?
Yes, I have seen it. Yes,
exactly what happens.
Yes, even though it's a movie. But yes, I have seen it. It's never going to happen. At least in our lifetimes, the San Andreas Fault is not going to split California and send it off as its own standalone island. Not happening. Sorry.
I don't know.
You think it's possible?
I think it's possible.
Yeah, well, today is Bad Idea Wednesday. So feel free to add some more to the list.
Is my blank check to Ohtani really a bad idea, though?
For any team, it's not a bad idea.
He's worth it, man.
Years as well, or do you put a limit on years? Like
No.
I would hand him a 5-year contract and say, you fill in the numbers, but
no, here's the issue. I don't know. The Angels would have to speak to this, maybe Major League Baseball. What is his impact on the bottom line? I don't know what it is. Now, in New York, maybe it'd be different. Well, the Yankees did 3.1 million fans last year.
How much more can they do?
That's my point.
I totally get that. But how about jersey sales? How about...
Yeah, but the teams don't really make money like that.
They don't make a lot off jersey sales?
It's like a collective deal with Fanatics. So I'm honestly, I think the team gets money when they sell stuff at the stadium, but when it sells online... There's a percentage that goes to everybody.
Do the math real quick. I think in the Mets case, because they have more room to grow in terms of crowd, if they average 7,000 more people per game.
At how much a ticket?
And those people, by the way, are buying stuff at the game.
Okay.
Hot dogs, hamburgers.
So you want to say every person spends $80 a game, ticket and food?
Is that fair?
I'm making up numbers.
Right, fine, do that.
$80?
So if you add 7,000 people per game, just based on the in-game experience, how much does Ohtani bring in?
You said 7,000 people?
I'd say 7,000 a game.
7,000 a game.
Every single game.
There's 81 games.
Yep.
And we're going to agree that $80?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, times 80?
I think we're being conservative, but go ahead.
$45 million and change.
$45 million a year from just the in-stadium experience. Doesn't include the fact that you would be acquiring a slugger and an ace. Like, two guys. That's why if a slugger makes $30 million a year and an ace pitcher makes $40 million a year, in theory, he's a $70 million a year player.
By the way, there's no one else you can make that argument for, but he's going to crack 50 a year because someone's going to give it to him. Wouldn't you give him 10 years,
dude, I'd give
$500 million right now?
Honestly, and I've evolved on this, I admit this. I'd give him freaking anything because even though the risk is he gets hurt and he can't do both, which is a legitimate risk, the reward is what we're witnessing. And what we're witnessing is something in sports we've never seen. Like when you talk to your kids about a great athlete, hey, you've seen great athletes. The story of Shohei Ohtani is a story, and I know a lot of us are sick of hearing about it because the Angels don't win. He has nothing to do with that. You can't blame him for the Angels not winning. I'm sorry,
here's the best example. I have a son who hates baseball, despises it, has no interest in it, wouldn't watch Game 7 of the World Series if it was on a 90-inch TV screen 5 inches in front of his face. And when I got home last night from work, he said, let's check out the World Baseball Classic. And I'm like, excuse me?
For what reason, by the way?
He goes, you got Ohtani going up, and then it was about Team USA and all that stuff. But here's a kid who hates the sport and yet wanted to watch the World Baseball Classic. So if I'm baseball, I got to be aware of that. I need to now figure out how do I get that kid that watched the game that was a well-played game, went down the stretch. Ohtani comes in, does what he does. How do I get that kid to come back and watch another game?
Very simple answer.
Clone Ohtani.
Ohtani comes to New York, and I add 2 Japanese teams to the playoffs every single year.
Again.
And I've just accomplished it. You're welcome.
No, now.
You're
if
welcome.
Ohtani comes to New York and somehow, some way, there's a team that wants my son to go to every game, that can be worked out. That's on the table. We can work that deal out. Anyhow, we got lots to do today. There's some football news we'll get to later on. We got some hoops as well. As after Willis Reed, of course, passing away yesterday, the narrative is very interesting from a lot of people, and I find that fascinating. We'll get to that.